Well, a few weeks ago, we told you about a new show on Apple TV called Gutsy. It follows the adventures of Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton as they sit around planning Ghislaine Maxwell's murder in prison. Sorry, that was the show concept that Apple turned down, which is a shame because it would be much better than what they ended up with. The real show documents the Clinton girls as they traipse around the country talking to women who inspire them. Women like Kim Kardashian, Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, Gloria Steinem, serial killer Eileen Wuornos. Actually, that last person was executed, which means that Hillary will have to wait a few years to talk to her. Anyway, it is, without question, the worst show or film concept that anyone has ever had. I think I can say that. It makes Batgirl look like a good investment by comparison. If you didn't catch the trailer, or even if you did, we're going to watch it again. Here it is.
We're hitting the road to shine a light on women who inspire us to be bolder and braver.
Leadership doesn't look one way.
You're not gonna break me down. You'll get worn out before I do.
I believe in second chances.
Every single person makes some impact on the planet every day. We can choose what difference we make.
Well, we can only assume, based on the trailer, that the name of the show, Gutsy, is meant to describe the courage required of the viewers who are watching it. And I'm being very generous by saying viewers with an S. Now, we knew that a show starring the likes of Hillary Clinton and Kim Kardashian would, just by its very existence, be brutal and torturous enough as to violate every protocol of the Geneva Convention. But even the darkest imagination could not have anticipated just how bad it would actually be. Because the show has now been released, a fact that comes as news to everyone, just as it will come as news to any residents of Connecticut that your state has a WNBA team, by the way, and it's currently competing in the finals. And I learned that myself this morning when I looked it up so that I could make that joke. Hillary's new show debuted, and People.com has a summary of what we're all missing by not watching it. Here's what it says. She might be a champion of gutsy women, but Hillary Clinton doesn't think it should be an act of courage for women to talk openly about the health and function of their lady parts. As Clinton's Gutsy docuseries with daughter Chelsea premieres Friday on Apple TV+, including episodes with Wanda Sykes talking about menopause, and with Megan Thee Stallion talking about her sex-positive W.A.P, the former Secretary of State recalls her own experience with menopause and that provocative rap. Now, we do have a clip of Hillary's discussion about W.A.P. Believe me, I would like to spare you from having to watch it, but I have no choice. Your own sins have brought you to this crossroads. You must watch as atonement for whatever evil you have done in your life. But before we endure that trauma together, let's hear what Hillary has to say about menopause. This should be at least slightly less devastating to listen to. Going back to the article, it says, after a certain age, we all seem to inherit these new things on our bodies, Hillary 74 tells People. It was towards the end of the second term, after I turned 50 in 1997, that I began to go through menopause. And it was something that you didn't talk about in those days. My friends and I would talk about it or roll our eyes, but not publicly. That's why we really wanted to talk about it with Wanda, because it's a universal experience for us. Thank goodness we're getting into a time when women's health, and especially now with all the challenges about reproductive health, are forcing this conversation out of the shadows and into the daylight. Now, Hillary insists that somehow her menopause has something to do with the abortion conversation, continuing, quote, it's astonishing to me how ignorant a lot of these men legislators are in a lot of these states making these laws about women's bodies, she says. The things they say, the things that they think, the ignorance that they display is breathtaking. So the more we can talk about it, Chelsea jumps in, it's dangerous. Stigma is so deadly when it comes to public health. Hillary acknowledges stigma played a role in her silence in the White House. Quote, looking back, I mean, it wasn't yet at the point of our social or psychic development that I would have said, oh, okay, the first lady's going through menopause. Here I go. Watch out, everybody. Now, a couple of things here. First, to fruitlessly reiterate, it's not just men who support pro-life laws. It's actually not even mostly men. Also, I'm not sure of a single example where pro-life legislation has betrayed an ignorance of women's bodies. We're all aware that women's bodies bear children. We know that. I mean, we know that. Those of us on the right are aware of that. It's actually on the left where there's confusion on that point. But on our side, we know that our point is simply that these children should not be killed. That's all we're saying. But second, perhaps more to the point here, Hillary says that back in the 90s, we weren't at the point of our social psychic development where the First Lady would announce her menopause publicly. Well, are we at that point now? Should we be? Why would you want to make a public announcement about your menopause? She says that she talked about her menopause with her friends, but she didn't talk about it on the public stage. Yes, and? What else would you have done? Held a press conference? Issued an official statement on White House letterhead? Called for a national day of mourning? Obviously, you didn't talk about your menopause publicly. That would have been totally bizarre and weird and inappropriate. Besides, the public was hearing more than enough already about the various bodily functions occurring in the White House during the Clinton administration, so we didn't need to hear more. Let me ask you something. What if there was someone out there who kept a log of every single thing you did every minute of the day? What if I told you that's exactly what happens every time you go online? Your internet provider like AT&T or Comcast is allowed to store logs of every website you've ever visited and can legally sell this data to anyone. That's why I always use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN reroutes your internet connection through their secure server so your internet provider can't see or log what you do online. Now, many of you might be wondering, well, if I'm routing all my data through a VPN, then doesn't that just mean the VPN can see what I'm doing and log my data instead? Well, you're right to think that many VPNs claim to have a no logs policy, but have been caught logging activity all the same. ExpressVPN is the only VPN I trust because they use trusted server technology. This makes it impossible for their VPN servers to store any data, including logs, of any ExpressVPN customer. And you don't have to take my or ExpressVPN's word for it. ExpressVPN is so confident in their no logs claim, they even had one of the biggest assurance firms audit their technology. So stop letting people keep logs of what you do online. Visit expressvpn.com/Matt Walsh Show right now and find out how you can get 3 months free. We have this totally ridiculous idea in our culture that if we don't discuss something publicly, then it's stigmatized. Feminists will say the same thing about their periods. They lament the stigmatization of a woman's menstrual cycle. But again, there's no stigma. We're all aware that it's a thing that happens in and to the bodies of women. That doesn't mean that we all need to talk about it over the dinner table or that you need to announce it into a megaphone. You also don't need to make a public pronouncement about every fart or burp or bowel movement. These are all things that everyone does, yet we are discouraged from making a spectacle out of these activities. Doesn't mean we're oppressed. It just means that we're expected to be at least moderately civilized. But there are those for whom moderately civilized is a bar too high to get over. Those like Megan Thee Stallion, who appeared in another episode of the show where she and Hillary and Chelsea had the conversation that you were hoping I would forget about and not play the clip of, but today is not your lucky day, so here it is.
Chelsea follows rap music. She has ever since she was a little girl. But I kind of came to awareness of you with the Cardi B WAP.
I've always wanted to do a song with Cardi. As soon as she sent me the song, I think I sent it back to her like the next day. And it was just so exciting. The men, they seem so confident in what they're saying, and they don't have no problem with talking about their sexuality and how they're gonna have sex with you. So I was like, well, I could do that, and it's gonna sound fire coming from a woman.
It's great to see women be so kind of fierce.
That is my life's mission, to make sure that I'm always unapologetically me.
Yes, well, on the bright side, Megan says that she took a day to write her verse of the song, which is a lot longer than I thought it would have taken. She put more thought into it than I assumed. I'll give her that. After all, her contribution to the song, indeed the whole song itself, is the sort of thing that an illiterate crackhead could scribble on a bathroom stall in about 95 seconds while in the middle of overdosing. But she was more thoughtful than that, which, I mean, perhaps makes it all the more pathetic, but whatever the case, and if we can somehow move past the intense revulsion we feel about the way this subject is being discussed, and especially about who is discussing it, the lessons being taught here are truly terrible. First, Megan notes that male rappers are disgusting pigs, constantly, saying very crass and sexual things. Her way of correcting this problem is to be an even more disgusting pig herself. This truly is the feminist mantra. I hate it when men behave in objectionable ways, so I will behave in an even more objectionable way. She then claims that her life's mission is to be unapologetically me. That is, of course, the worst sort of mission you can have in life. It is a recipe for failure in 99.9% of cases. The rap and pop industries package this kind of message and they sell it to kids, forgetting to mention that almost none of them will end up as successful as the celebrities they're emulating if they continue to emulate them. Because unapologetically me in this context means I'm going to be a stupid, boorish, self-centered, obnoxious idiot and expect everyone to just fall over themselves and worship me anyway, because I'm me. The celebrities who promote this message will indeed themselves be worshiped, no matter how dumb and repulsive they are. But for most people, being dumb and repulsive just means that nobody will want to be around you or be your friend or marry you or hire you for a job. You will be alone and bitter and miserable forever. But you will have helped Megan Thee Stallion get rich, and that's all she cares about. And that's why she is canceled, and Hillary Clinton is canceled, and this show is especially, most certainly, in the end, canceled. Well, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get more content like it. If you're craving more content, go watch or listen to my full show at dailywire.com, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.